Hi guys, can you hear me and how is the sound quality? Okay, great. So I suppose we could start working on things. And the very first thing which I maybe would like to ask about is is the home task. Oh well, I see that there is no any single submission. Was it problematic or you just didn't have a time for that? Just in case there are some questions, maybe not really clear how to make that, you can ask questions. So I would like to remind you this. Okay, so what was the situation about that?
Good evening. I got a question about a home task. Was it about a Caesar cipher?
It was written there in a such way, I suppose. Yes, sure.
Right.
Okay, I see. So for some of you, time is the main problem. Okay, fine. Um, all right. So also, if even you have only one part of solution, that's fine. You can upload one, but if you will get the second part, you can submit that as well. So if anything, just make an update of submitted file. Okay. Well, I suppose um well, for sure. If it's not ready, well, you will not submit that. Well, yeah. So surely when it will be ready, you will submit that. Okay, okay, guys. So I think we can start working, and as all the time, I will share my screen, and I will go through materials, and I will show you how things can be done, and then I will from time to time take a look in the chat. Um. All right. So I am sharing the screen. Put a plus if you can see my screen. Great, great. Okay. So previous time, if I'm not mistaken, we finished on this example number 5 from the presentation 03 examples. Yeah, so literally here the story was about the timing, so we can literally measure a time which is spent for running that or another code fragment, which is super cool thing. And I personally use this thing all the time, not only in the Python but even in another programming languages. Okay, well, we had such thing which was actually described even in one of the first slides of the first presentation. So we can have an exchange of values. So we don't need to have some third variables for the swapping options, for the swapping code. Okay, well, I will show you what is the meaning behind that. So I will go for some file. Let's say it will be a.py, pym, and let's open this, and let's say we have in the value a, we have in the value b, and in a regular way, when we would like to swap them, we'll look on it. Well, in most of the cases, what we do, we say, well, there will be C, which will receive the value of A, so it means we can replace value A with value B in a such way. And then what we do, well, we say, okay, we will assign into the value B the value of A. So that's what we do in the regular, or I would say in the most of programming languages. And you will definitely get the result of this. Okay, let me hide this one. And you will definitely get the result of this. But at the same time, what you can do, you can just have both results, and you can get two computations. And those computations will involve the separate value for A and separate value for B. Like it's placed here. Yeah. And nextly, when we do that, well, we can see even the results. So let's save this file. Let's open maybe this folder in the CMD window. Okay, and let's go for Python a.py. Oops, base letters. Okay. So we don't have results. Yes. So let's maybe print them out. Yeah, and we don't have them because we're not running them in terminal. Sorry, not in the terminal, but a command by the command. So in this case, we would need to make the printout of them. Oh, and sorry, we don't have a semicolons here. Otherwise, by the semicolon, Python thinks that there will be some other comments on this line. Yeah. So what do we see? 6666. Well, that's strange. A to C, B to A. Yes, here it had to be C. Yeah. Okay, so we see, well, we have values and they're being just swapped by using that way of several assigning operations into one. Okay, well, I suppose this one is clear for us. So let's go to take a look on other things. Well, there is such a thing called a set in our Python. If you remember, the set was, well, just a set, like in math. So we just collect some values. Their order doesn't matter, and we can have only one of the value inside the set, so we have no duplicates. And the len literally gives us an amount of elements. So in a sequence. So literally what we can do, we can give a sequence and we can find out, for example, if there are duplicates inside. And how is it possible to do? Well, we can find out the len of all elements, and we can find out the len of only unique appearance of the element. And literally in the end, we can have these pretty nice results. And maybe let's take a look if they will be working. So if there wouldn't be any problems. Okay, so we're making this. And let's run that. So let's see how it will be run. Oh yes, the printout is needed. So let's not forget about this because we are not making a command by the command execution. So it's a must-have here. Okay, so that's it. So we say it, and let's take a look what printouts will be placed on the screen. Well, and as you can see, it works exactly as it's shown for you. All right. Well, I suppose this one is clear. So once again, the command set, which can create you an empty set if you wouldn't place the argument, or it takes the argument and tries to take out elements from the argument. So if you have number or variable that contains the value, just one value, you will have the set of one element. If you give a sequence, which could be tuple, list, text, then you would have each element placed, each element taken from that sequence as the element of the set, and result will be the set. So that's the idea. Okay, filtering. Well, maybe let's pass this one because it's one of tricky things. So maybe We can do it afterwards. So it's possible to say how many symbols or how much space does the text take, or the sequence take. So here, especially, we have a textual sequence, and it's possible for us to make the encoding of that. As you probably remember, as you probably know, I really hope that we can have different encodings of text. So, for example, previously there was a 7-bit ASCII table, then it was enlarged to 8 bits, just in order to cover at least 2 languages simultaneously on computers. And then it was just extended. So nowadays we have a lot of languages available for simultaneous usage, which is really great. And one of encodings which gives us that option is UTF-8. So we can find out how many bytes do we have per symbol. Okay, and actually, I mean, the overlay for the text. So literally we can give some text and we can have the len of symbols encoded in the one of formats. Well, sometimes you can use such things as UTF-16 or extended Unicode that literally gives you, literally a bit larger amount of rations. So how it's used, so, for example, sometimes you can see on the internet some really strange texts where it looks like the text should be written in some non-English language, but you have some symbols there, and the amount of those symbols is doubled from the amount of symbols in the original text. Well, literally this happens because sometimes we try to encode text in the older formats, which is not bad, but you have to be able to convert them back when it's needed. And in most of the cases, we don't really see these things when texts are converted back nicely. It's specifically for databases, I would say. Or let's say quite oftenly can be seen for databases as the problem. Okay, well, we can receive even information about how much memory the variable uses. So it's a bit different from previously overlooked. Here, the story is about usage of variables. So usage of not only text but just data. It's not of very commonly used things, but anyways. Then there is the possibility to find out if we have some anagrams, which is kind of super simple thing. Literally how it could be done. So we literally can have a such called counter class, which literally forms assorted elements, object sequence, and you can literally compare the certain results of both texts. and if they will be equal, it means that, well, you have those anagrams. Oh, okay, and here you have an example, so written in one direction and the reverse. Okay, so the next thing, so certain is possible, and as we remember, we try to use a function called sorted, which makes a certain of elements in the so-called descending order, so from the minimal value to the maximal value. We can even have a possibility to make the reverse sorted, so just add in the reverse parameter of the function equal to true, and by default it's equal to false. I think this is super simple, so it's not even necessary maybe to try this. One of most interesting things is a so-called a dictionary, which is used in in whatever language, literally whatever language. But in the Python, it's implemented in a such way. So we have the object, and we specify that this object has the begin and the ending. Literally, and here why we have exactly such a begin and the ending. Because of spatial construction. Because here we have to just specify values without any thinking about, well, if the value belongs to an object or it belongs to another level element, like level construction, like if else, some loops and so on and so on. Here the offset from the left side is not taken into account at all. Okay. And such objects, by the way, can be even manipulated. So you can find out how many elements there are. You can sort them. You can literally use the functions that operate with sequences, and they will operate with dictionaries as well. Okay, I suppose this part is clear. Okay, well, what do we have here? Here we have just a possibility to access the elements of the list, but actually we already had a talk about this, so let's just scroll this a bit. Okay, here we have one of constructions we already took a look at when we took a look on one of examples. By the way, I can remind you it was related to emails. There was the same case when we literally took a text and we literally use the text as the separator for elements of the array. Literally, we actually made such operation for sequence. And actually, we can use whatever sequence we like. In such case, well, those are lists, but we can use it for tuples or maybe for texts. It doesn't matter. It will work in a similar manner. Okay, well, what do we have here? Here we have an example how to find out the palindrome. And the idea here is super simple. We have a text or a sequence, better to say, which is given to the function. What function does? Well, function takes all elements from the sequence and literally makes a so-called reverse direction sorting. Well, I wouldn't maybe recommend from the beginning, or let's say for developers who just started working with the Python, to use such approach for reverse sorting. But it works. Actually, there are a lot of such interesting things in the Python, which are, well, kind of not really related maybe to a sorting, but since we have a 1D sequence, so we have starting, beginning, and then we have additional parameters. There are tons of such additional parameters actually. Yeah, and by the way, we can even take this code and we can literally run that. Again, we will have to make the printing. Like here we have, and we can run that. So you can see it works quite perfectly. Okay, I will take a look if anything is written in the chat. Okay, it's not, then great. So let's continue. Okay, what else we have here? Shuffle. Well, I would say just a randomized sorting of elements. Well, let's say if you have a list of elements which are prepared by some rule, and you just would say, well, I want some appearance of them based on the random. That's fine, use that. But in most of the strict logical cases, it's not really so needed. Okay, so there's a possibility to use actual functions like upper, lower, that basically change the letters to uppercase to the lowercase. Well, C functions are reachable even in another programming languages. Okay, what do we have here? Here we have one interesting thing called string formatting. Literally, what do we have here? Well, we have a section in which we can place an equation, the value of variable's name. For example, here we have a variable's name placed, and then the value from this variable's name will be just given to this position. and for formatting text, we have to have the f before the text itself. Nextly, you can sometimes see such construction, which means something like like a percentage sign for formatted text in C++, when we just mark those places where formatted elements should be placed, and then we just place them. For example, in the like last argument. So, for example, printf function. Here's something the same. So we just say, okay, we will have a place for the element, and then we just add an element, the textual element, as elements or as the element of formatting. So so that's the way how it works. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, so sometimes we need to find out a substring in a text. So there are actually a lot of methods for that, and as you probably remember, there are such operators like in, which literally says us or gives us the result, the Boolean result, saying that element on the left side of the in is inside the data, which are placed on the right side of that in. So if the text, which is well, first we go through elements, and then we take that element and we say if the Python text is inside that element's value. Since we have text, so literally if we have the Python text inside one of these texts. That's one of ways. Another thing that we can use built-in function, and here we have one of built-in functions. So we have the text, and from the side of that text, we can search for an element, which is that text part. Like we're going through the array, and we take one text and we find out if inside that there is the Python text. So I would say this is super simple. Okay, printing a line. As you know, we can have the printing, but printing has several additional ideas. So probably you remember from C++ that we can have printing of elements given the so-called enter sign as the last element, or not given that. Similarly, we can work here. So we give a text, and we can say, well, what element or what symbol will have to be in the end of the text, and by default, it's the enter sign. So let's maybe take this example. Let's copy that and let's place it in the in the file. And we using the standard output things. So literally, stdout probably is known for you from C++. Here it works in a similar manner. Okay, so you can see, so we are working in a similar manner, and if we didn't place a new line symbol, then we don't have a new line symbol. And for the print, well, if we don't need a new line symbol, we have to specifically say that by such code. Actually, here we can give whatever information. Okay, so for example, we can try to give another text. Okay, and as you can see, it will appear in the end. So here we have those symbols. So as you see, it's not complicated at all. Okay, and here we have and here we have fragmentation. So sometimes, guys, we need to split an element in several parts. So for example, a sequence in several parts. And we need to say, well, that each of those parts will contain a specific amount of elements. Well, it can be done, for example, in such way. So we give a list to the function, we give how many elements we would like to have in each chunk. Then the result will be the array. And since that's the array, it will and in the array we have a definition. So that definition will be just read from the left side to the right. No, from the right side to the left side. So what happens here? Here, the very last construction is for in. So we are going through elements. Saying that we would like to have two elements in the chunk. So we go through them. And what do we do here? We literally take the value and we organize it in a such interesting way. So we just say which element will be the begin element, and until which, excluding that index, will reach the information, will reach the element. And actually, by this we are finishing this. I would say several examples we can use in the Python. The other thing, like, it's nice to use the Python, it's nice to use another programming language, but another problem or an interesting thing would be for us, well, how to use it in an interesting way so users would like that. And as you probably understand, the terminal execution, or let's call it CMD window execution, is not the best one, It's not attractive. It's not somehow nicely looking, because, okay, for example, we can compare it to the DOS. Well, who's using the DOS daily? Well, developers only, right? So users don't really do that. So same as here, we have to use some libraries to make attractive applications. And for that purpose, I uploaded for you a file related to a graphical interface, which can be used. Okay, let's maybe open that and let's take a look on how can we build super easy graphical interface, just applying several commands. Okay, so I would like to say that a priori it will not be the same and easy as when you work with the Visual Studio, like a drag and dropping. No, we will have to write everything in the way of the commands. But anyways, results are reachable. Okay, so what we will try to use? We'll try to use Tkinter library, which is pre-installed on our systems. And we will use it in an interesting way. Actually, depending on the Python version you use, and probably you can use maybe that recommended version, like the third version, or you can use the second version. Those codes will be a bit different. So here we have the very basic code for interface activation for Python number 3. So we can take that, we can fold it inside, and we can run it. Okay, so what do we see actually? We see that that a very simple window is being appeared, right? Which is much more interesting than just working inside the terminal, inside the CMD window. I suppose that you would agree. Okay, guys, but let's take a look. What elements can we really make using this thing? Okay, I will show you just a few elements and how to use them by examples. So the button. Well, the most common element, and it's not possible to imagine a software without buttons. So we have to click something, we have to put the cursor under something and just press the mouse buttons. Okay, so the button, how it's being created. So we can use the button class. And here we have a super simplified example. So what do we have? We import the library, we import the message box element, which literally is the modal window that gives you the text, and you have to click OK to close that, to continue the other execution of the program. And you can create and you can launch that, but by using message box show info, and you will have the header of the text and the main text of the entire window. And how you can make the button? So you are making the button. You assign to which object it will be assigned, and it will be a Tkinter object. You can even write some text on it, so literally the text will be here written, and you will apply the comment. So comment actually is the reference for the function which will be executed. Then by the function pack, we compile that and we prepare that, and then by a top.main loop, we run the top, I would say, the main window. So that's the way how this happens. Let's maybe take this and let's try to use that. Okay, so we have it. The only thing here, I have to put everything on one line. Otherwise, I would need to have a slash symbol, which means that current line is continued on the next one. And I don't really want to do that. Okay, so here we have it. Let's see the result. Okay, so we have this thing, and by the way, we can even extend the window a bit, so to be able to move that. And you see we have a hello button. We can click that, and you can see we have the modal window, information window. Okay, what does it mean? The modal. The modal means that we cannot go back to the previous form while the current form is active. So we have to finalize that. We have to close that. And only then we can go back to the previous form. So that's the global idea about this thing. Okay, I will maybe copy this code and I will place it in the chat because actually I have to maybe do that. So you will be able to maybe try things on your own, because maybe you're just looking what's going on my screen. Okay, so once you manage to do that, once you manage to run that, please put a plus in the chat. Okay, so please try to run the code on your side.
Can you show code on the screen? Because when we copy, it's just
Yeah, sure. So here we have to have some sort of offset on the line number 5 where we have message box show info. Okay, so I'm switching to the chat. Okay, no pluses somehow in the chat. So guys, if you manage to do that, put a plus. Okay, so I'm sure that even other codes will be working on your side. That's great. And surely, guys, since you have...
I can't run it. I think
Wow.
because I use web-based.
Yes, for sure. So in this case, it will not be possible, for sure.
Okay.
Because by such things we are running the window in the operating system, and in your case you don't have the operating system. maybe it will be run on the server like a window, like a separated process, but even if it will happen, you will not see this. That's the idea. Okay, let's make a step forward. Okay, the canvas. One of really nice elements I personally use quite frequently. So we can implement some drawing on the surface of the window. So there are a bunch of functions, and here I have just few of them, which can be used for showing elements on the screen. And let's take a look maybe exactly how such element is makeable. So we have the canvas, which actually has the background, okay, and we specify it as the blue. We specify the value, the size of that, and we say to which object it will be assigned. So it will be assigned to Tkinter object. So we say that we have a sequence of values, and we will use that as coordinates. Because sometimes some of function elements assume that there will be an array of several elements, right? And we can give that to the function of create arc. Okay, the arc will be created, so it's well, the arc is the part of the circle line, and we say, well, which will be the starting angle and which will be the ending angle. And if we would like to fill that with some color, well, we can specify that. And once again, we can compile that, and we can run a window. And the window size, as you have probably noted, related to a button, is flexible, and it will always take the maximum size of elements the form has. So that's why sometimes we need just to, make corrections of form size, which is not shown for you here, but anyways. Okay, so we have things, and when we run them, okay, so we receive such result. And surely we can even extend the window size, and you can see the element is assigned to the upper side in the middle. So yeah, so we can resize the window as we wish, but it will be still standing by its top midpoint in the window's top border midpoint. Okay, I suppose it's quite understandable object. Next time, a check button. Really interesting and really used thing. So the check button. So we can create this thing where we have, for example, several options which can be activated simultaneously. And what do we have? Well, we have different states of the checkbox. So, you know, like with the radio boxes as well. So we can say that the status of the check button, if it's checked or unchecked, will be saved in some integer value. And such integer value is definable by such ways. So we have Tkinter object, and we initialize integer element. And this initialization actually says that this object will be working or will be kind of alive only while Tkinter object exists. Once we erase that, those elements will be erased too. Okay, what happens next? So we create the check button. We assign it to some of sides of the window. No, we assign it to the window. We give a text and we say, well, in which variable we will be saving the value. Okay, so we will specify what does it mean by the value the checkbox is checked and unchecked. And then we say the height and width of the object. A similar approach happening here, and we compile them both and we add them to the form. Let's see how it works. Let's copy this. Let's open the file. Okay, here let's just put everything on the one line. In my case, I activated the word wrap, so I still see everything on the screen. Okay, so it's here, and surely we can run this. Okay, let's go for that. Okay, and as you can see, we have checkboxes, and we can work on them quite easily, as you see. Okay, so I suppose this part is fine for us. Next time, sometimes, guys, we have to type texts. For example, if we would like to implement, for example, the login screen, we have to have text elements in which we will type something and then we will maybe press the enter, or we'll hit a button on the interface, and so on and so on. Such thing is doable by class entry. Well, here we have a few things. Well, here we have the class label, which will appear even afterwards in the presentation, but it doesn't matter. So here we have the following. Let's copy this. We have the label, which is the ordinary text, like a username, And when we compile that, we say, well, to which side of the window it will be binned. So it will be binned to the left side. Okay, and entry, which has the borderline size equal to 5, will be binned to the right side. Okay, well, we can even see how it works. Okay, so okay, where's that? Okay, here we have that, and if we will extend the size, what will we see? We will see the text is on the left side in the midpoint of the border, and the text field is on the right side. So just as we specified in configurator in this code. Okay, so so let's make a step forward. So we can have a frame, and the frame actually is an object in which you can place another object. Okay, well, for example, here we have a frame, button frame. And what do? We literally pack that, and where do we use this button frame? So we use the button with the text black to the button frame. So here it is. Okay. Next one. We have even some buttons created, so 3 buttons which are placed into the frame. But this frame didn't have any assigning. So it was not pinned to any side of the window, which means a priori that it will be pinned to the top side. So it will be here, and all the rest, I suppose, it's clear for us. Maybe the only excepting the foreground color, like FG, like a foreground. So you can specify colors of texts of the button. That's the idea. We surely can take that. We can place it inside, and some of things should be just fixed. I mean those long lines like this, and we can try to run them. Okay, so what do we see? Well, we see 2 frames. One is on the bottom, another is on the top, and we have some buttons without on-click response. So that's the way how we are possible to maybe group some elements by its placement on the form. The label, just an ordinary text which can be written, but it has even few options. So, for example, we can raise that, or we can lower that text if we like. But once again, it's just an ordinary text which we have seen when we overlook the text field. So it's not something super interesting. Okay, the next one, the list box. So the list box is nice element. So it has elements which can be placed inside the list box, and you can always say which element was selected. So how it works? Well, just the list box is being prepared, and just some values have been placed inside. So it was packed, so it will be pinned to the top side of the window, and that's it. So the main window is being launched by this top.main loop. Okay, let's see how it looks like. So let's copy it and let's place it here. Okay, and we can even run that. So as you can see, we can click these elements. The only thing we cannot really select few of them simultaneously because there's no such configuration which would support that. And as you can see, when we make the resize, it's just been pinned to the top side of the window. Okay, so I assume this would be clear. I will check the chat just in case. Okay, great. All right, so so the next one, the menu button, one of really usable things, and exactly these things make an interface in an interesting way. So how is it structured? So we can literally create a drop-down list of objects, of buttons, of actually whatever elements we would like. Well, they have to be visible for sure elements. For example, what do we have here? Here we have a drop-down menu, and we have two combo boxes. Sorry, checkboxes. So we have once again a Tinker object. We have the menu button, which has the text condiments, and it has the status of the raised. But okay, it doesn't really matter about the status. So it's been compiled, and then we're saying that there will be a menu based on that. So while we will click that, a submenu will appear with this pop-up window. Okay, so what will be here? Here we will have several variables. Well, one variable per check button, and then we will make the menu check buttons. If you like, you can find out a lot of these elements which can be just placed under the top-down menu. And you can see that we can have a text which will be written on that, like, mayo or ketchup or whatever. And we can have variable which will store these elements status value, like checked or unchecked. We can even write here what does it mean to be checked and what does it mean to be unchecked. Then we compile that and we run the main window. Let's see how that works. Let's take that. Let's put it here and let's make a small corrections, just to have one comment per line written. Okay, that's great. And let's run it. Okay, so as you can see, we have the element pinned to the top side, to the top side of the form, and when we click that, we have a pop-up window with these check buttons. Okay, I think that's clear. Let's make it the step footer. Okay, here we have the message, but it's just a text which is placeable on the form. So let's maybe just pass this. The radio button. One of other must-haves in the apps is the radio button. So when you're about to choose something between several options, and here we have not only the radio buttons itself, but even the response, which can be used even for checkboxes, if you like. So what do we have here? So we have first of all the function which will be run once we click the radio button. Next time, we create the radio button, so you can see it from here. So we have literally 3 radio buttons, and we are assigning them to the main element of object Tinker. We give the text which will be printed next to the element itself, and we will say, well, there is a variable that will store this value. And similarly happens for other radio buttons, but you can see that only the value will be changed. And here's 2, here's 3, and the first one is the 1. And the comment is the response on the actions from the user side. So literally it's the same like for the button when you affect the object by the user through the interface. So you execute the function, you say, well, I have something like an on-click event. Here you have something the same like an on-click event. Okay, let's see how that works. Let's copy this. Let's go inside the file and let's make this. Okay. Okay, so we have it. So as you can see, it has such structure. Right, the button, the window object, the text, which variable will receive the value itself, and the function which will be run if the object will be affected by the user. That's the idea. Let's see how it works. Oh, and by the way, what do we have related to the function? So we have the label, which is the label, right? So it's just a name of variable, and we are given a configuration of the text. So we literally change the text of that. Oh, and here we'll have to have the variable from which the text will be taken. So we have some text, and then since we have the variable in which radio buttons values are saved, so what we do, we just receive that value and we use that as the text. I remember, and as you probably remember, in the Python there are no data types, right? But there are no data types for programming. But if we would need to really make a conversion between data types, well, it's always possible. So just keep this in mind, guys. Okay, so let's save that and let's run it and see how it looks. Okay, so we have that. So as you probably remember, there was no initial text for the label. So once we will click one of these radio buttons, the text will appear. Okay, so you can see the text appears on the screen. So you selected option 2. Or let's go for the option 1. Okay, we see that. So what exactly we selected? And in the similar manner, by the way, guys, the software could have different branches. So it could be it could have different operations. So if you selected one option, the second option, the third option, for each of those choices, you can provide your own codes, which is quite normally. Okay, let's maybe take a look on another thing. So the scale. Well, scale is one of maybe not the popular objects. So here we have a so-called the scroller object, where for each position of the scroller you have a specific value, and you can set it up. You can read that out. For example, here we have a selection. So here we have the value which will be received by the object, and we will just use that for the text under the element. So we have once again Kinter object. We have let's suppose a double data type value variable, better to say. Next we have the scale. So we say to which element it will be placed as the component, and which variable will receive the value. Then we say, well, where it will be located, in our case in the center. Next we have the button that will just read the values. Next we just pack the button, and we have the text field without initial text. Surely there are a lot of things may be missing, such as a region of data, but region of data is quite easy programmable. Okay, well, we have some even other elements. The only I see that the file is kind of running super fastly. So next time we will take a look on the scroll bar and other elements, and we will try, by the way, guys, to make a software together next time which has the visual interface, and we'll have some interesting functionality inside. So guys, you are welcome for the next class after a week, when we'll try to build up things. If I'm not mistaken, by the schedule we have it after the week. Okay, so time is going on. So maybe there are some questions from your side before we'll finish the class.
No, at the moment.
Okay, so was everything clear for you guys?
Yes,
Not
for me.
very.
Okay, not very. So what exactly was not clear?
I just have to like try all of that myself to understand how
Yes.
it works, you know.
Yes, unfortunately, we have only an hour, right? An
Yeah,
astronomical hour. So yeah, so it's not the same like 90 minutes classes. So it's not the
yeah.
same.
So we need to like do it by ourselves and find
Yes.
out.
Yes. So try to say to yourself that you will spend an half an hour just for that instead of having a 90 minutes class. Let's say like that to yourself.
Okay.
Just one of recommendations, All right. So and yes, so as it's written in the chat, a lot of info, but we have limited amount of classes, by the way. So we have to try to take a look on some info. Yeah, and we'll have to go through the regex things, but we'll find out the time for that. Okay, guys. So thanks everyone for being connected. It was really nice to see you. Hopefully next time I will see probably all of you. So if I'm not mistaken, overly you have to be 9. Yeah, but it is what it is. Anyways, thanks for being connected, guys, and have a nice evening. And see you next time.
Thank you for the lecture.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Bye.
Bye, bye, guys. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, you too.